be nice to see you again. Are you missing Formula One at all?
It would be probably wrong to say no, but it's not that I need it, first of all, and my life is pretty joyful right now. I wouldn't have had the energy for further years. I just was empty again. You remember I said it the first time that I called the battery was at low level, and it was pretty low level again by the end of last year.
Michael, don't you see? Ain't gonna come back, gonna come your way.
How surprised have you been by Mercedes' performance this season?
I've been positively surprised. They have established themselves and they have been able to use all the resources in a way that they can keep the development slope in a positive trend, and that's why they are where they are.
And how much do you think that was down to a lot of the work that you were doing?
What a little start. Pole position. Well done, Michael. Fantastic.
It's natural that the consequence of what you see now is actually built up in the various 3 years. You need to think like a gearbox. You need to find all the people and move them in the right position that one is working into the other, and that took time. But I wasn't very optimistic that already this year you would see this. So they've done a good job.
Do you think that you were maybe given the credit that you thought you deserved?
To me, it's much more important that inside the team I was credited and people understood what I was doing and how good I was doing things. And I never ever had the feeling they were doubting me.
At the moment, Sebastian and Red Bull seem comfortable. Fernando and Ferrari seem less comfortable, and he's been quite vocal again at moments, saying that he's not been given the tools to win the championship. Would you agree with that?
If you're part of the team, then you're partly responsible for what you have. And I don't think in my last 3 years I ever complained against the team, because those guys, they work off their nuts to make the best possible. It does take time, and sometimes it takes a bit longer, and sometimes it doesn't happen. But still, you belong of that family, and you got to do it together. So you win and you lose together.
Michael, he knows what is right. Michael, he knows what is true.
You watched with interest at Silverstone. What did you make of the situation with the tyres?
Honestly, when the season started and I heard the first kind of complaints, I started to be amused a little bit, because probably have been a little bit ahead of time when in Bahrain I made exactly this comment. If 80 to 90% of the field all complain about the same problem, maybe Pirelli should think about that and do something. If a car can do 100% and the tyre cannot fully cope with this one, and you may have to drive 10% less to protect your tyres, that's what probably we used to do, but that means you have a margin to race and still hold back.
I've never seen the tyres behave this way.
But if your margins, like we have seen in Monaco, and we have seen so many races, that people just drive 3 to 5 seconds slower behind the steering wheel, that's pretty boring, honestly.
Michael's got a style of his own.
Are you sentimental about the records that you have and what you've achieved? If Sebastian or whoever it is down the line breaks them, how do you think you'll feel?
Honestly, I didn't have statistics in my mind when I was racing. It was always a consequence. It was a nice consequence. I enjoyed that afterwards, but it wasn't the reason I was racing for. I would be pretty happy for Sebastian achieving this.
Sebastian Vettel, the youngest ever 3 times world champion and only the 3rd driver in history to have taken 3 titles in a row.
It was different, obviously, with Fangio and myself, because you cannot compare his 5 title to the 7 that I have achieved. I feel a bit guilty to have broken those kind of records, because I don't think I broke them. I just set my own benchmark and they did their benchmarks.